there are very few Robin Williams movies that I have not seen yet, and as a pretty die-hard fan of that actor, like he's one of my, all-time favorites. Those things that pop up on like Facebook and stuff whenever they say, "Oh, you can only meet one of them again," and it's like Prince and Michael Jackson and all these famous people that have died. Robin Williams is always my choice. I have admired him since I was a kid, and he is definitely one of the few actors that I will regret never having the chance to meet. I have said that in previous entries, and I'm going to say it for this one, because this is a film that I had no idea existed whatsoever, and it's nice to kind of come across it while looking for holiday films that I had never seen before, because of course we're getting into this era where, we're all just looking back at all the regular holiday movies that we all appreciate, and very few that come out every year, and there's always a lot of them. There's always 30 or 40 new Christmas or holiday films that come out, and this is no different. It's hard to sit there and say that any handful of them are worth it, worth rewatching, or worth even making a staple in your, like, the Christmas movies you watch. A lot of people have their staples, Nightmare Before Christmas, Home Alone, Santa Claus, all of the really big hit ones. But we're talking like there's at least 10 or 11 new ones every week throughout the entire month of December. Some that are just like exclusive to their streaming services. Netflix is huge with this. Huge. You can find 30 movies on Netflix right now that came out this year strictly for Christmas. And this is pretty old. I think this is 2014, and it was really nice to come across it. It's called A Merry Friggin' Christmas, and it's just a really feel-good comedy about, like, not so much a Christmas miracle, but just like a really interesting Christmas tale that I haven't really seen portrayed like this before. So the premise is this father doesn't get along with his own dad. This guy doesn't get along with his own dad. The comedian Joe McHale plays the main character, and his father is played by Robin Williams. So they don't get along. But now, Joy McHale, whose name is Boyd in the film, he has a son, and he's trying to, like, still keep the Christmas spirit with his son and, like, kind of still have that magic in his family for a little bit longer, because, Robin Williams' character was such a horrible dad. He ruined Christmas for him, and that made a big impact on him as, a young child and as he grew up to be an adult. So they don't get along very well, but he has this son who he still tries to keep in, like, the spirit and not let his young mind get ruined by the reality of Christmas as he gets older. So they're doing the best they can, keeping the Christmas spirit up. They have to go visit the family. I forget what the reason is. There's like a ridiculous reason where it's like his brother is having a baptism on like Christmas Eve, and he wants him to be the godfather. So they go up to see the family and stay there. And as the kids are getting to bed, they realize they brought all the kids' gifts except for this dude's son. So he's like, what are we going to do? So he's like, fuck it, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive all the way back to our hometown to get his gifts and come back. So it's a cool little, like, journey story where, of course, he winds up taking the trip with his father and his brother, and they grow closer together. And there's, a lot of... There's a lot of fun little antics that happen in the middle of everything. Like, there's this cop that winds up stopping him like 3 times, and then by the 4th he's just like, fuck it, so he outruns him in his father's pickup truck. And it's just it's funny, but it's only funny if you appreciate it for what it's giving you. And it's funny to see Robin Williams in both this comedy and relatively sweet role. Like, he plays one of these like roughneck fathers who's like doesn't really care about the fact that he ruined Christmas for his kid, but then he also cares about the idea that his kid doesn't want anything to do with him. Like, he's a grown adult and he's never really seen like his house and whatnot. So it's sweet to see that like parallel of the Robin Williams character. And of course it has, a fun, happy ending. And I believe it takes place in like California or Florida, someplace where they don't get a lot of snow, because one of the big things is that, we live in this area where there's no snow, so we never get a white Christmas. And then, of course, by the end of it, it starts snowing, so it's like, the magic of Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, it's typical holiday movie trope stuff. But it's just cute because of the story that's happening. That idea of journeying to keep a child's idea of Christmas hope alive, just by the simple thing of taking a 9-hour round trip back and forth to go make sure you have all of his gifts. It feels like something that if I was in that situation, I'd do the exact same thing. Hands down, I would literally hop in a car and drive 8 hours to make sure my kid had his Christmas presents 100% of the time. What else is, funny is just all of the other characters that are happening around, because, there's very minor little stories that are also taking place that don't play a huge role, but they just add to like the overall character building of like his wife and how like their marriage is going. And then you have the contrast of his wife and his mother, who are the only ones that stay around and stay up and wait for them to come home that night. And they get plastered, and they're like, we're going to wrap up all the old gifts we have in the attic. And it's just like funny to see this like contrast. And it's got a great cast. It's got, like I said, it's got Joel McHale. It's got Lauren Graham, who some remember from like Gilmore Girls and Bad Santa. Then it's got Clark Duke. Right? Clark Duke. I believe that's his name, Clark Duke. That's the comedian who plays... He's been in a bunch of stuff. He plays the brother. He's been in like episodes of The Office. I remember him from the Hot Tub Time Machine specifically. He's the like Fall Out Boy haircut dude with the glasses. Pretty much looks like the lead singer of Fall Out Boy. He's in it. It's got Oliver Platt, who you won't recognize unless you really like look carefully. It's also got somebody else who reminded me of the chick from Big Bang Theory, but it wasn't her. It just looks a lot like her. And then Candice Bergen, who is fantastic in a lot of the stuff she does. I really loved her in not Boston Legal. Or was it Boston Legal? The one with William Shatner? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I really loved her when she came in and picked up a role in that one with William Shatner and James Spader. So it's got like a really good cast of people, and it's very much under the radar. Like, I found it on Amazon Prime Video. It's not like an exclusive of theirs, and it's 7 years old. So it's really interesting to think that this kind of went under the radar for me. But then again, if you really think about it, 7 years ago, 2014, this came out around Christmas time that year. Very, shortly after the unfortunate death of Robin Williams. Robin Williams died in August of 2014, so this was probably just one of the few things that he still had going, before his passage. I think this is one of at least 5 other films that I can think of off the top of my head that came out after his unfortunate death. There was The Angriest Man in Brooklyn that I was a huge fan of. I thought that was it, but it wasn't. There was also Another Night at the Museum that they were working on. And then there was the one where he plays the voice of a dog with not Sean Penn. Sean, the guy from Shaun of the Dead. Maybe his name isn't even Sean. Sean Pegg, I think. It's probably not even Sean. I probably just think of that because I automatically think of the guy from Shaun of the Dead. But he was in a movie with him as the voice of like his dog or something. And again, so there was at least 4 or 5 movies that came out after his unfortunate passing in that August. So I'm guessing that's probably why it kind of flew under my radar, because I was too busy kind of doing this whole Robin Williams marathon thing, literally starting with like Dead Poet Society, going through all 80s and 90s, and then kind of leading up to waiting for The Angriest Man in Brooklyn to come out. And then when that came out, it just broke my heart. And this just literally never heard of this until this year. And it just goes to show you that sometimes you can really dig and you can find some really nice gems out there. Like, you don't have to feel stuck when you go onto something like Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, and you just look at what the top things are. You dig a little bit. You go down in the list and for a little bit, and you find something. You could always find something, and I'm really happy I found this. And it's a really sweet holiday movie. I'm not gonna say it's the best holiday movie. I'm not gonna say that it's totally worth its weight in dollars. I'm just gonna say that it's worth sitting through, because it's a nice change. It's a nice change of pace. And funny enough, it's produced by the Russo brothers. So it's very interesting how this kind of just, maybe there's people out there that knew all well what this movie was and were very much on top of it when it came to when this movie came out. I just wasn't. So it was a nice little gem to find this holiday season. But yeah, otherwise I'm just gonna stick to the real key players. I'm gonna watch my Santa Claus trilogy marathon pretty soon. And I'm just gonna enjoy the holiday season. But I'm definitely adding this to that list of movies that I do watch every year for December. This definitely is getting added, not just because it's Robin Williams, but because I like its unique storyline too.